All right, everybody, welcome to That's the Thing with myself, Lawler. For those that don't know what's going on, this is a weekly podcast where me and my co-caster Johnny Boy here discuss imperative topics in the Rocket League community. Generally, we're joined each week by a special guest, sometimes more than one. This week is going to be CloudFuel, as you guys can see, the one and only, where we dive into topics, juiciest gossip, and we all try to keep it somewhat serious, but also like a lighthearted atmosphere. We would then usually wrap it up with what we call Community Rising Stars, where we pay credit to people in the community who've been making really cool stuff. We're not going to do that this week because we got a lot to talk about, but we always end with a live Q&A that is not put into the podcast format. But as I stated, we have Cloud here as our guest this week. How you doing, Cloud?
Doing well. Glad to be here.
Well, appreciate having you. I know we've been trying to get you. We wanted you at the LAN, but I don't have a laptop and we couldn't find a leaf. So here we are. Took a break, but kind of wrapping up. The LAN was unbelievable, to say the least. And it's going to kind of preface everything that we're going on in the show today. We are literally talking about the start of before Rocket League, I guess, was even what it is today, all the way until the end of the LAN and maybe the future, depending on how stuff works out. So before we kind of dive into this stuff, Cloud, if you want to kind of give us a background of who you are, what you've done, what got you into the gaming industry, all that kind of stuff, just an overall breakdown.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm 30, married, 2 kids. Have a ton of animals. My wife is like an animal collector, so my house is kind of a madhouse. And I don't know, gaming is kind of my escape. Gaming is something I've always been into from a very young age. I've always dreamed of being able to play competitively. Unfortunately, I wasn't very good, so I ended up kind of getting into, running things more. I think in my heyday, I was considered somewhat of a pro in Guitar Hero. Won a couple tournaments there, so that's probably like my biggest achievement as far as
There were
competitive
tournaments in Guitar Hero.
There were tournaments
Wow.
for Guitar Hero.
What was like the prize pools for that? Like,
So the prize pools were pretty crazy. They were anything from like gift cards to GameStop or like swag from the company to I actually won a tournament that got me up on stage at a local rock concert. So I got to meet a bunch of bands and got a signed guitar.
That's pretty
so
cool.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was awesome. So that's like my crowning achievement from competitive play, and that's about as far as I went. I pretty much hung it up after that. Um, I was pretty certain that I was going to go into music education. I was totally a band geek. Just loved it. Couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. And obviously now that's quite a different path that I've went down. But I grew up in Austin, Texas. I moved to Houston right after high school to go to University of Houston to study music education, and ended up meeting my now wife, then girlfriend, literally like the girl next door. So we started dating, and then I just kind of completely changed gears. I got into the oil and gas industry, doing logistics and handling customer service for transportation and chemicals, and did that for the better part of the last 15 years. During that
it's a little bit
time,
different than Guitar Hero.
yeah, quite different. So during that time, like I was looking for something else to kind of fill the void because, good pay, it paid the bills. It was good stuff from that perspective, but it wasn't like a dream job. It wasn't something I really, really wanted to get into. So gaming was my outlet. And like I said, the competitive thing wasn't really working out for me. I tried playing competitive Left 4 Dead and Battlefield, Bad Company 2. And I started seeing a lot of the esports stuff starting to rise up during this time frame. This is when like Halo really started getting big, and CS is something I played back before it was even considered CS 1.6. Like before it was even a standalone. It was a mod for the original Half-Life. So I watched that game go from pretty much nothingness to the behemoth that it is today. And I don't know, I was just fascinated by how all that stuff happened, how commentators like Puckett and Golden Boy were able to build careers off of that, and all these people that were behind the scenes literally building this into an industry. So for me, as somebody that's always done logistics type stuff, it intrigued me. It was something I wanted to get into. So right before Rocket League came out, I was actually running some Madden leagues with friends, and I just kind of stumbled across Rocket League on Reddit. Saw a post saying that the beta, I think it was the second beta, was coming out for PS4, and that was in May of this past year. And I've always been drawn to more team-oriented games or games that require you to have skill as opposed to like just pushing a button and something happening.
Right.
And there was really nothing like it. It's very sporty. I'm into sports. Always been a fan of like pro sports, but in the esports realm, there's never really been a true sports game. It's always been like, first-person shooters, which are essentially, war-esque type games, or they're strategic with MOBAs and things like that. But there's never really been a sporty type game like this. So I don't know. It filled a niche that I thought totally made sense, and it's something that I thought had a lot of potential. And little did I know, there was a whole other game that happened before Rocket League that had this thriving community that was underground, but tons of people were hooked on it.
Right.
I had no clue that any of that was in existence. So I just kind of stumbled upon a gem and fell in love with it.
Well, that's crazy, and I know Johnny and I'll let Johnny kind of take it away on this one. He and I both have a League of Legends history, and we saw people like Nick Allen who created this massive, massive company. And took it off, and now we have the luck, and we got to meet him at the LAN, which was really exciting. Nick Allen, great dude. If you guys don't know him, he basically started the League of Legends esports scene, and is now helping Twitch esports kind of as a whole demographic. So getting to meet him at the LAN was really cool. But yeah, Johnny and I have a big League of Legends background, and kind of same as you, got that gem of Rocket League.
Yeah, exactly. I saw Nick Allen at the bar. I was too scared to go and say hi because he's just way too famous for me to go and introduce myself. But you talked a lot about, the vague introduction of Rocket League, which is kind of the same for me. Like I didn't know anybody from the original game, and I just came in and I was like trying to investigate. Like, okay, let's see what have we got here. What is Rocket League? Who are the people that I need to know? And you actually did a similar sort of thing. You just came in and did some investigating and threw messages out to some people. Do you want to explain that story and how that got started and where that led, what it turned into?
Yeah, certainly. So I got my key for Rocket League on, I think it was like May 14th, and I was hooked right away. I came home that evening. I started playing. I told all my friends that I played Madden with and other games, like, hey, we got to get this game. It's awesome. Check it out. Got all them in. We started playing, and I ended up taking like the next 3 days of work off. Like I just couldn't stop. I was addicted to it. And around that time frame, and I kind of have this type of personality where when I really get into something, I go all out. I research everything. I try to find as many websites and forums about it as possible. So I found the subreddit. I found the Psyonix forums. The subreddit wasn't too active. There was only maybe about 1,500, 2,000 people on it. But the forums were insane. Like there were less people on the forums than there were on the subreddit, but those guys were incredible. Like it's people that you see nowadays. It's the Gibbs, the Kronovis, the Doomsies, the Fishos, the Gambits. Those guys were posting like nonstop. So I don't know. I just found it very fascinating. This whole community that was kind of like underground that nobody really knew about, but they all knew each other. They'd all been friends for a very long time. So I don't know. I felt like, hey, man, it'd be really cool to run a tournament for this. There's a lot of people that are interested in the game that have been a part of it. There's a lot of new people like myself. And so I just kind of pitched an idea of doing a beta 2 tournament. And that was probably the best decision I ever made because people like Gibbs and Kronovi and Fisho and Cool Cole and all these guys came up and wanted to be a part of it. They thought it was awesome that somebody like me was going to do that because they're used to doing it all themselves. They ran all the tournaments. Like Gibbs was one of the main guys that ran tournaments for SARP. So they were kind of impressed that somebody new was coming in. It's like, hey man, that's actually really cool that you're that interested to do that. But we'll see where it goes. So, I kind of winged it. I'd never really run a tournament like that before. So, there was some struggles. I had to kind of learn as I went. But thankfully, I got paired up with those guys really early on. I was playing games with Kronovi like 2 days after I got the game. So I kind of got the benefit of seeing what you could do in Rocket League much earlier than anybody else. He was doing all the crazy stuff. Obviously, he's a heck of a lot better now, but he was doing all that crazy stuff back then, too. And I'm just like, wait, what? You can flip. You can do all these other things that I didn't know about. I thought you could just, I was very simple at that point. I was just driving and trying to hit the ball. So it was just really cool to see so much potential with it and so much skill that was involved in it, and just hearing the stories from these guys about how much they put into SARP. They spent several years playing it, coming up with all sorts of creative different types of tournaments, because there really wasn't an MLG or an ESL or RLCS or anything like that. They were having to kind of figure it out on their own. And it was the passion that they had that just really inspired me to want to get involved and do whatever I could to help. So that's kind of where RLC was born from, talking to them about things that they wanted and hoped Rocket League would be. And my thought was, hey, if I could come in and create a thriving esports scene, we'll get the attention of ESL and MLG and these other big dogs, and they'll come in and do things right. So that was kind of my goal right off the bat.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up too, because a lot of people mention that sheer balance, like you said, when you met those Gibbs and those Kronovis, like you were just trying to hit the ball, and you get a very similar comparison to Smash Brothers. Even though the games are nowhere alike in playstyle and the game itself, you get a very similar, very low skill ceiling, where it's a party game, anybody can sit down and play, but then you get these guys that come in and completely blow people out of the water, where you're like, how is that even possible? So for you to get involved with people like Gibbs and like that early, and to kind of get those connections, and understanding that when you're first starting a tournament, and that applies towards anybody in the scene, anybody who wants to go and start a tournament can definitely do so, and you're notorious for helping them out with that, because you know what it's like to be through that initial struggle. Do you think having someone like Gibbs, who helped and did everything through SARP, kind of launch RLC into a different area? Or like, what things, I guess, what were the major events that happened at the beginning of RLC to have it kind of come into fruition of what it is now?
Yeah, Gibbs, I mean, I can't say enough about how much that dude has helped me throughout the course of RLC, definitely at the beginning of RLC, and even to this day. He's somebody that I've leaned on for pretty much everything. Like, he's just somebody I go to for advice and suggestions and thoughts about everything. Yeah, he was one of the first people that I ever talked to. I remember late nights talking to him, Kronovi, Mike Rules one night, and with Gibbs especially, he had a lot of ideas, obviously, because he has a competitive background as well. He's played a ton of games, been very successful and competitive with them, and obviously was the main guy that ran the NA side of Rocket League tournaments. So he had a ton of ideas. He had a really cool Survivor tournament idea, and then we worked together on a championship, like a world championship type thing, that is actually kind of similar to the RLCS. So in a way, we kind of came up with the foundation of what essentially would become the RLCS. Obviously, we didn't really have anything to do with the format that the RLCS went with. It's just kind of coincidence. But it's just kind of interesting that we were thinking along those lines over a year ago. We were thinking long term. We were thinking, how do we make this thing into the biggest possible esport that it could be? And yeah, I mean, he was very forthcoming with information. He was eager to help, and he got me in touch with a lot of people that really helped kind of kickstart this thing off. And then, like, specifically with RLC, so he joined, I believe it was June, like as an advisor / consultant. And anytime we would think of an idea of like, hey, we want to do this with the site, or we want to come up with these things, he'd be involved in those meetings and give us feedback on, hey, I think this would be a better way to do it. From a pro standpoint, this is what we're looking for, or make sure you don't forget about these things. So he was really good at like kind of tearing down our ideas but making them better. He was obviously very, yeah. I mean, he was very paramount in the entire spectrum of RLC, with just giving us solid advice and feedback to kind of feed off of and make sure that we were doing things the best way possible.
I mean,
right, so Gibbs, easy decision to like include him in pretty much everything that you're going to do from here on. Cause,
absolutely.
What a guy, Gibbs,
absolutely.
Legend. He's
got
in
Gibbs
chat.
and Games, boys.
Yeah. Games Boys, is that what we're calling him now? I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's Gibbs and Games, because we just switched the letters, because one mistake happened on RLCS, and now they're living down forever.
Did somebody call it James Games?
No, we because they have the same letter, and they called Gibbs James.
Yeah.
Kind of, so we called him Gibbs instead of Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs.
So we just gave James. We took the letter from him, and then we gave him the G, and now it's Games and Gibbs.
I was gonna see the G didn't get left out. That's definitely
G,
necessary.
Right? There's too many guys that use that G in their name, so didn't want to throw it away.
Yeah,
No,
but just to clarify, RLC, that's the humble beginnings. But I mean, for all of us who are involved in Rocket League content creation and like anything related to tournaments, Rocket League tournaments, or even smaller, uh, tournaments in the scene, you always envisioned RLC to be the hub for everything, but you're not. And I can say this with honesty, like Cloud didn't pay me under the table to say this, but they're not controlling in any way. It's just really helpful because I've worked with you in RLC and also in stuff that I've wanted to do, my own projects, and you've always been really helpful. And I just wanted to clarify for everybody who's listening and isn't aware of this, that CloudFuel always had this idea that RLC would be like the central hub that everything can not so much revolve around, but kind of stem from. I would say like it all leads to RLC, and RLC helps out everybody, and that's I just want to give RLC and CloudFuel some love because
yeah,
they're very
and
underrated and
that's something
underappreciated.
that people don't understand too. To not only have that, like, it's not even like a hive mind mentality. Like, to be the one
No.
that literally led the scene with, it's tough. Like, it's very easy to follow after someone. After someone's already put in all the hard work and kind of set the stone of like, okay, this is step by step what generally you have to do to grow. But not only did like RLC do that, but you guys, especially you, Cloud, got involved in literally everything Rocket League related. That's why, and if you guys don't know, the petition of you being called Rocket League Daddy, I know you don't like the name to the extent, like, but it really summarizes what you do. You are the dad of Rocket League. I tried to put it more professional and kind of make you like the commissioner, because you do oversee every single community tournament. Anytime someone starts up, you're there immediately. What do you guys need? Do you guys need talent to cast? Do you guys need help with admins? Do you guys need a structure in base? What do you guys need help with? And that's huge. Having someone there at the helm to basically just say, okay, I'm going to put what I've done aside because I just want this to grow so much. And having someone there to do that is very rare, and it's something that really summarizes the Rocket League community as a whole. Um, Something that you guys came in very early with was that mentality. You set the bar with Rocket League is going to be community based. It's going to be something that we strive to do. We're going to get everybody involved with it, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're not about that, you're not going to be involved, and it's something very difficult to establish early in an esports scene. Also, Cloud,
Yeah,
it
I
looks
mean,
like there's something you want to announce for those that are too busy watching here.
um, yeah, I think we should probably do that, and then we'll come back to this.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
So, yeah, obviously I had to wait because I answer to, Justin Delario and Nick Allen, my bosses, and then obviously Silex as well. We're in partnership doing this, but yeah, it looks like we've got an announcement out there. So the RLCS is indeed coming back. We've got Season 2 just around the corner. I would suggest going to Twitter and checking out the RLCS Twitter page. I imagine it's going to be on the Rocket League game page as well as the RLCS page. Yeah,
It's in chat, boys. It's in chat.
It's a chat. Yeah, it's pretty big. It's pretty big. I'm not gonna steal too much of the limelight. Make sure you go check this out. Tweet it, retweet it, do all that good stuff, because it's pretty big.
Some pretty cool stuff. If you guys make sure you take the time to read that one in detail. There's some underlining stuff. Money's saying it really well. 250K PogChamp. It's a subtle hit. So
Yeah.
make sure you guys pay
It's-
attention to that. It's pretty cool.
It's something we've been working on for a little bit of time. We've been thinking about how we could go bigger and better. Honestly, before season 1 was even over. That's something that, I mean, I kind of jump ahead a little bit here, but that's something that I personally am I'm really trying to push forward everything in Rocket League. As is Psyonix, obviously that's their baby. As is Twitch. I mean, that's what we're trying to do with this thing. So I'm just really glad to be able to kind of look back. It's kind of fun being part of this experience, looking back at how this all started to looking at where we are and where we're going. It's incredible. Like, this is all I've ever wanted for these players, and for this scene. Like, this is why I put all the time into it, is for this. And
Yeah.
we're just getting started.
For those that did not watch my RLCS recap, there's a moment where I talk about how me and Leaf were talking backstage, and I'm not going to bring it up because every time I do it, like, I tear up, and we don't need that. but we mentioned about like looking back in time and the things that we wanted for this community and the fact that they're actually happening is insane. So we'll move along for that, but kind of as the founding factor. So we talk about RLC kind of being the start, really putting in the mentality and setting the precedent that it's going to be community based. We're going to help you the best abilities, but you didn't do that alone. Obviously, you had someone like Gibbs and Kronovi and a lot of the veterans that were in this underground scene, but there were some new faces like yourself that came along that really helped out. Do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, before I go to that, I do want to touch on the points you're making about how RLC is kind of meant to be a hub, but is in no way meant to like oversee or overrun anything. I never set out to build an empire. The goal has always and will always be to grow this community and grow the esports scene for Rocket League, which is why it's kind of so perfect that I got picked up by Twitch, because that's the same goal that we have from that perspective. So it totally fits in with what I'm trying to do. Yes, by proxy, RLC got big because of the success of Rocket League, because of the things we're doing, and that's great. But we never rest on that. Like that, in turn, I take back and I throw out to everybody else. That's why you see us we're a retweeting machine. We're constantly retweeting and promoting all sorts of stuff in the community because we just want the community to grow. If the community grows, the esports scene grows, viewership grows, we all win. So there's really no reason for any one person or any one organization to try to be above anybody else, because we're all in this together. So that's always been my approach with it. And I don't mind the Daddy Rocket League thing. I think it's kind of funny. I mean, I've got 2 kids of my own. And I get, why people look at me that way. I've always been somebody that tries to advise, especially these younger kids as they're dealing with the contracts and just all the stuff they're probably not used to dealing with in the business world. I want to make sure that they're set up for success. I want to make sure that, people don't take advantage of them and screw them over. So, that's just my personality. I like to help. I like to advise people and give suggestions wherever I can. So I totally appreciate all that. And that's really all I've wanted to be for this community, is just to be somebody that can help. And as far as you mentioned new faces coming in, I mean, the biggest reason that I think we have been so successful within RLC has to be when I ended up joining with the Rocket League Garage guys. So those guys actually started before RLC even started, but I didn't know about it until we finally decided that we were going to go forward with the website. And at the time, I thought it was just a defunct website. I thought it was a project that got started and then just kind of died off. So I kind of assumed that they weren't really anything to worry about, because they weren't making any updates or anything like that. Little did I know they were actually working behind the scenes to make this super website. So I started with RLC. I started pushing the website out there, and then I think it was Rocket League Cinema came out with a video that included Chewy from Rocket League Academy and all the crazy graphics and video design stuff that Rocket League Cinema does, and basically announced to the world that, hey, rocket-league.com is a thing and it's here. And it blew all of us away.
That was timeline-wise. What was that for everybody? To kind of put that into perspective.
So that was June.
Okay, so you're talking literally in the sense of a month.
Yeah.
That they went from people don't understand how quickly things just started clicking. It was insane.
Yeah, because we were all really eagerly anticipating the game coming out on July 7th, and in that time frame, we didn't even know. Psyonix is, they always tease us, right? They told us it was coming. They just didn't tell us exactly when. Totally understandable. There was all sorts of stuff behind the scenes I'm sure they had to deal with. But we were just in anticipation of, when is this game going to come out? How is this all going to go down? How do we get started? And from an RLC standpoint, we wanted to be out and ready to go once the game was out. But we didn't think that we had any competition at the time. So we find out Rocket-League is definitely a thing, and they were honestly kicking our ass when it came to production and stuff, because I was doing all the website design myself, and I'm not a web designer by any means. If you go find pictures of the old website, you'll see what I'm talking about. So yeah, I spent a lot of my time really trying to beef up the site, and a couple months down the road, I realized, why am I doing all this? We have 2 websites that are essentially doing the same thing, but the one thing that I want to focus on, the esports side of things, is the one thing they're not really doing. And everything else that I'm trying to do is what they already do, and they do way better than I ever could. So genius idea to me was like, why don't I team up with these guys? Because they've got, their side already completely locked down and they're fantastic. And I could just bring the esports stuff over and help wherever. So that was one of the biggest moves. And that was one of the smartest moves I think I ever made. Those guys are fantastic. Quest Ferret, I love you. That guy, he works harder than I do, honestly. Like, the guy is incredible. He's always out there helping. He does everything for the website, from like a coding and back end aspect.
It's absurd. For those that don't know how HTML and all that stuff works,
it's incredible.
It sucks. Simply put, it's not easy to do. It takes a lot of work.
He's revamped the entire overlay system that we use. The reason why everything looks the way it does is the combination of the work that he and Vice Gold, Lords, the leader of the website, those two guys are, those guys are incredible with what they pull. And that's a big reason why RLC was able to kind of kick off with Rocket Royale and the Pro League and all these things that we've done, because they were able to make it look as professional as possible. And at the time, now obviously we have the RLCS and we have groups like Pro RL that are kind of coming up and pushing the boundaries of it. But at the time, we were pushing out stuff that was bigger and better than anything else. And that was kind of the hope is, let's set the standard for Rocket League and then others will rise up to meet it. And then we all get better. We're all competing and we're all getting better and everybody wins.
Yeah, and that's good. And John, I know Johnny's got a question brewing. He's sitting there. He's getting antsy. I can tell it. But
I'm trying to ignore the Twitch chat, but I can't help it. It's just, it's so funny. Everybody's making me laugh. But I am paying attention, believe it or not. Just to make sure, where are we on the timeline, Cloud, right now?
We're like,
for me, like some of these things are actually before I even played Rocket League, so this is like a history lesson for me from before my time.
The big history lesson that I know, Cloud, I want you to touch on is, and the reason why I brought it up is there's people in the community that have kind of disappeared that really helped that competitive scene thrive, like you were talking. Like, there was certain players that they could barely play the game despite being some of the best. And there's a couple names that I know you mentioned to me a week or so ago that I didn't even know about because that was before my time. Like, I was just trying to get into the scene and just trying to play, for that matter. When this stuff was going down, like, I saw, I'm like, holy crap, like, Rocket League, I'm just a merely caster that doesn't know what the heck he's doing. Still don't know what I'm doing, but I'm winging it pretty good. But
you're doing pretty good.
Nice.
Thanks. Yeah, I think so. So we started off in July. We kicked off the Pro Series idea. That was myself, Gibbs, and the rest of the RLC team. And that was around the same time that the game was released. It was released on July 7th. I remember we went out and created New Zealand accounts so that way we could play the game early. Apparently there was like a way you could do it and get the game like 12 hours earlier than everybody else. Yeah, it was
worth it.
It was insane. It just goes to show like how dedicated and how hungry we were to play the game. So we did that, and that was also around the time that ESL came in. So, I had always hoped that ESL or MLG would come in. I was really surprised when they came in as early as they did. And they actually reached out to me because they saw the stuff I was trying to do with RLC. And they're like, hey, do you want to help with ESL? So I actually got a job with ESL in July and started helping them to run their tournaments. They had the Go 4 Rocket Leagues that you see now. We did all of those from August through to now. So I started helping with those guys. But at the time, this was before cross-platform. So there was no way to play with PC and PS4. That came a couple weeks later. So in that time frame, I started a PC Needs Love tournament. And the whole point of that was because for ESL, we were only doing PS4 tournaments. And of course, PC Master Race now, PC people were really
always, man.
Always, bro.
Yeah.
For real.
So that's actually where I met Jamesbot. And he is absolutely paramount and crucial to what we've done with RLC as well. He came in as a last second sign up for a team. And his team actually ended up making it to like the semifinals. They lost to, I think it was Cosmic Aftershock. So that was kind of the first big tournament I ran. We had over 250 signups, and this was, in July of 2015. So around that time, that's when ESL started picking up. I started working with them. We were getting anywhere from 100 to 200 signups each weekend for the ESL tournaments. And that was also around the same time that MLG came in. So it like all started happening one after another. Game comes out, ESL comes in, MLG comes in, and I guess just based on the fact that I was already starting to make a name for myself, I had people like Puckett coming to me and asking me like, "Hey, do you want to get involved and help?" Spoke to Golden Boy early on as well. Had the job with ESL, so I was starting to help a lot of different groups outside of RLC. So around that time frame, RLC kind of went on the back burner. My focus was, ESL and MLG are here. They're probably going to run this thing, and let me help them as best as I can. People like Dirk and Gibbs were obviously very paramount. They came in as well. SARP vets, they knew a ton about the game, way more than I even did. So they were, very crucial in helping out with that as well. But somebody that was really important that a lot of people may not know about is Utred. So he came in as somebody who played the game, just kind of as an enthusiast. But the thing that he did for everybody that, again, a lot of these new guys don't really know about, everybody was playing on PS4 back then. There were very few top pro PC players. Kronovi, Gibbs, Dirk, Lachinio, Mike Rules, Markey, they were all playing on PS4. This guy pretty much single-handedly hooked up everybody on the top end with PCs, and not just standard PCs. We're talking top end, high quality, best of the best type, and that moved us forward so much. I mean, obviously, the people that play on PC over PS4 or Xbox are going to talk about the input lag differences and being able to use multiple controllers and these other sorts of things. But I think the biggest thing from that was being able to all connect easily and work together. Like that was something that I didn't really have the ability to do on PS4. I had my laptop, I had the PS4. It was kind of hard to make it all work. Once I got a PC, like everything changed. I was on TS, I was talking to Jamesbot and his team, Double Tap all the time. I was able to, connect with everybody instantly, and was also playing the game at the same time. So it just made things so much easier for me as somebody that was trying to logistically create everything. And then from the player perspective, I mean, they went nuts. Everybody at the top end was getting them. And I mean, I don't know how to say it, but that guy did so much for this community. I don't know what it was. Like, I don't know what exactly drew him to Rocket League. Gibbs and Kronovi knew him more than I did and way better. But he just had a big fascination with Rocket League. He really loved the community. He loved the people that were a part of it. Unfortunately, some bad things kind of happened later down the line. People trying to take advantage and screw him over. So he eventually kind of moved away from the community, which is very unfortunate. But the guy deserves a trophy or something. I mean, he did an incredible amount of work for this community and helped so many people to get to where they are today. So I just, that guy is special to me, very special. And I just want to make sure that people knew about him and all the stuff that he did for the pros. But then there's another person that a lot of people don't really know about either, and that's SL Express. So SL Express, when we first started the Power Ranking Committee, he was one of the first people we brought onto it, and he's one of the main reasons that we started Rocket Royale. I mean, he personally funded that himself for the first 8 weeks that we ran it. And he was actually a mentor to me, giving me a lot of business tips and things I should do and just how to run RLC successfully and just to do a better job with everything. He was somebody that was very active in the community, was constantly giving feedback. I mean, you could look up his posts. I mean, he would give like essays of, what we need to do in this community, where esports is going, why this team is good, why this team is doing this. I mean, the guy was everywhere. And he was a huge inspiration to me. I mean, like I said, he was a mentor for me and really just kind of helped me to grow in the role that I was kind of going into with RLC. And without him, I don't know that we would have had Rocket Royale.
Yeah. It's kind of the
he
beauty
helped.
of Rocket League.
Yeah,
everything is glazed with like, oh yeah, this guy helped me, this guy did this, like this part of the memory. Like people just stepped up and decided that they wanted to do it out of the goodness of the game, which is interesting that no matter where you turn in the history of Rocket League, there's always just someone there that was like, yeah, I did it because I wanted this. I wanted something to strive for this game. They did it in very unselfish reasons, which just baffles me because I've seen esports grow and people do it for the wrong reasons, and they get rewarded for it. But Rocket League's be the complete polar opposite, and it's exciting to hear it not only from your perspective because we all, like when I started, it was you. I didn't know any of that behind the scenes stuff until I finally got to talk and kind of get acclimated with it. But at the beginning, it was just, oh yeah, Cloud's a god. He did everything. Cloud did everything. But then you hear it, and it's like, even though you could take the credit and the glory, you still push it back and redirect it towards other guys. And that's going to be the same. I can guarantee those guys would say the same. Yeah, re-angle it even.
Re-angle.
No,
I have
like
the exact same experience though. It's like everybody's just helping people for not so much a personal benefit. Maybe you can look at it like somebody you can help someone and then in the future they can help you in return. But my experience with pretty much the vast majority of the Rocket League scene is just people helping each other, and that's a massive difference from the other esports communities that I've been a part of, where people are looking out for themselves more than they're looking out for the scene. But so long as everybody in the scene keeps on looking out for the scene, it's going to go places. And that's, we didn't see that anywhere more clearly than the RLCS big meetup, the big community meetup, which just happened at the LAN. Everybody just, so nice and so helpful.
It's like you left your family behind, man. I hate it.
I know, yeah.
Like,
I came back.
Leaving the LAN literally feels like
I
I left my family behind. I hate it.
Yeah, they're just not the same anymore. Yeah, like I used to like sitting here at my PC. Now I just hate it because I'm by myself and I have to, pester people as soon as I'm alone because everybody leaves Discord. I'm like, right, who can I talk to now? Like, who can I hit up on DMs or get in Skype or Discord with me? But that's kind of all from the beginning. All these names that you're mentioning. This is kind of when I just started to play Rocket League, so I never got the chance to talk to these guys who have now left the scene, but they, provided a foundation for the scene to grow on and to be built on. But some of the guys have stuck around. I'm looking at the names that you've said, Jamesbot and Gibbs, and obviously yourself, Cloud, and other people like that. That was, they were all the main influences. You've told us all about all the people who helped you, and then from that's where things started to happen. And like you mentioned a little bit about the Pro Series and about RLC and where you wanted it to go. But I'm ready to hear the next installment of the story.
Yeah,
so what happens next after all these people have brought you all this information? What did you do?
Yeah, you now have the foundation in play, like everything. Yeah. And that's the hardest part for those that don't understand like what it's like to grow something like that. The hardest part usually is not getting things started. Once you get everything going, and RLCS Season 2 is now a prime example of that, the hard work now begins. You got all the stuff, the first one happened, and now that it's successful, you have to take that drive, you have to have the hindsight to be like, all right, this is where we go next. So, Cloud, how did you have that hindsight to determine where to go next? I mean, Johnny Boy said it perfectly. Like, how? Like, what did you go? I have no idea. Like, I couldn't think of that. There's no way.
So for me, it's really simple because, again, I come from a logistics and customer service background, which means, I'm used to moving things from point A to point B, making sure that everything is checked and everything is thought of, and making sure that the customer is happy throughout the entire process. So I could literally take that and apply that to Rocket League. For me, the customer is the viewers, the players, the casters, the people that are all part of it. And the process is, how do we make it exciting? How do we put something out there that's enjoyable, that people need, that people are wanting and starving for? And at the time, there was nothing from the pro end. I mean, MLG kind of did their pro league thing. I helped with that, as well as Dirk and Gibbs and a few others. And, that started to kind of pique everybody's interest. And around that same time, ESL was doing their weekly tournaments, but, it's an open tournament that 100 to 200 people were playing that each week, or teams were playing that each week. And if you're a pro player, you're basically slogging through 4 or 5 rounds before you even get to any teams that could compete against you. So from the perspective of the pro teams and the pro players, or, they weren't even really pro at the time because they weren't signed. I think Flipside was the only one signed by an actual organization. So, I mean, these were the elite, the best of the best. And, obviously we want to kind of prop them up and give them a path to be successful and go off. And that's where Rocket Royale came from. I mean, I talked to several of these players, the Doomsies, the Kronovies, the Cool Coles, everybody that's a part of this thing. Back in the early days, it was Cosmic Aftershock from NA, pretty much dominated everything until Untethered and Kings of Urban kind of came up. And then on the EU side, flip side, was untouchable. Like nobody could touch those guys. But at the same time, they were still having to slog through ESLs, and they were playing through all these kind of more amateur, semi-pro geared tournaments, and it didn't make any sense. So that's where Rocket Royale came from. I spoke with Gibbs, Utread, SL Express, and the four of us worked together to come up with Rocket Royale. The format was mostly Gibbs and myself, and then the funding. Well, I can't talk. The funding was going to be from Utread and SL Express. Now, this was around the same time that Utread, kind of had to step away. There was a lot of personal issues going on, unfortunately. But yeah, SL Express ended up being kind of the backbone for laying the foundation for that. Giving ideas of what we need to do, how we need to do this, what's going to make the most sense, kind of like a program manager in a way. And so Rocket Royale was designed to be pros only, invite only, based off of the power rankings, and it was kind of a bloodbath. I mean, that's kind of where the name came from. I'm a fan of H1Z1's Battle Royale, kind of took the name combination from that, and it took off. There was nothing like that. There was definitely no weekly tournaments that were pros only. And so once that started going and we started to see the success of it, we were kind of limited again with our funding because it was all coming from SLX. We started doing community donations, and we didn't really have any clue as to how much we were going to get. And, we were just kind of winging it as we went. And it was all based off of what the pros were telling us. We want this type of tournament. We want to, have something that's like on a set day, and we want to avoid, the ESL tournaments that are kind of geared towards a different portion of the community. So to me, it just made sense. We make something specifically for them to compete in. And we did that for about 8 weeks till the funding ran out. And then we decided that we were going to kick it off to the RLC Pro League. The big reason we wanted to do that was because we thought the MLG Pro League was exciting, but it lacked a few things. We didn't really have the stats that we wanted to see. We didn't have them as interactive as they could have been. We didn't really sell the storylines as well as we would have liked to. So that was kind of something that I kind of championed. I thought, hey, I could really do this and make it to be the best thing that Rocket League's ever seen from a competitive standpoint. Plus, if we're being honest, it gave us an opportunity to kind of raise funds. Trying to do a $500 Rocket Royale every week, it's kind of difficult. I mean, I was paying out of my pocket several times. It's a volunteer thing. We're all kind of busting our butts to try to make this thing happen, but we're also working at the same time, and we also have families and things like that. So it was really difficult to raise the funds for it. And I'm not a guy that really knows marketing and business and sponsorships and things like that. Thank God James came in, because James is a master with that sort of stuff. I mean, he essentially is the creative director for RLC and the business and marketing guru. I mean, he's the guy that kind of geared us through all that stuff.
Yeah, for those that don't know, so Jamesbot has definitely set himself up in life because he has that intelligent mindset of the business side. He runs certain things on the side to keep him financially stable. He knows how to go out. He also was an ex-Evolve caster. I mean, he's been slightly introduced into this before, so he has that general idea and experience definitely coming out. I mean, allowing you to know immediately the foresight, you guys, hate you all in chat, to know where to go next with your experience in customer relations, knowing where to go next to take care of the people that made this possible. Same thing with Jamesbot. Jamesbot had a little bit of a history with it, so he knew where to go next. He's like, this is what I wanted to do. I mean, the same thing with, the situation. I've always been in a situation where I've wanted to have the chance to basically build a brand and all that kind of stuff. I've been able to do it for other people, but they just aren't willing to take that opportunity. They're not willing to take that risk, and now I can do that for myself. So having that previous background to take and move on is something that Jamesbot, yet again, another crucial piece of the puzzle. Like, it's insane how things just ironically yet coincidentally worked out. Like, it happened. Like, I don't, like, obviously there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but
yeah, it's pretty wild how it worked out between James and I, because if you're I earlier mentioned that he was a part of the PC Needs Love tournament, right. And we kind of
had a second one.
What's
like
that?
a 2 month. You guys had like a 2 month tournament for PC Needs Love or something like that, right?
Oh yeah, so that was my first experience with with running a tournament on Rocket League, like on my own. And I had the genius idea of like, oh, let's make it to where we'll kind of go at everybody's own pace, because I'm sure they'll all want to get it done fast. Didn't work out that way. So yeah, it ended up not completely finishing. On the EU side, it finished. We had a winner. The NA side, we never could nail down a time between Cosmic and I don't remember the team's name, but it was like a combination of Untethered and a couple other players. So that never actually finished. So yeah, it ended up taking about 2 months.
So when's the final? That's what we all want to know. When are we gonna see?
We're gonna have to
against Untethered and the Ragtags.
Yeah, but
see
then
that.
after that, we were
I'll do it on my stream. We'll do it. Let's go.
we were supposed to have the winner of NA versus the winner of EU, and that was Smokin' Rockets, which I think was Tech Talks. Who else was on that team? DeBoer was on that team, and Descott, I think, was on that team as well.
Wow, those some older names.
Yeah, so they were supposed to play Cosmic Aftershocks, Gibbs, or no, wait, Cosmic hadn't won yet. So it was Cosmic versus Waffle and his crew. I don't remember who all was on that team, but it's like 2 other players. And
It's a long
yeah,
time
so that
ago.
never got finished.
Jeez.
I mean, it was crazy.
So
But it was a good learning
learn.
experience
That's
for
what
me.
you're saying. We need to finish this
It'd be
as
nice.
soon as possible. Get it done.
It's for me.
TikToks is in chat.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Fix it.
TikToks,
Let's go.
Put the
got it.
plans in motion, man.
Got his prize already. I ended up so we were trying, I think we were doing like, again, this is the way back early days of Rocket League. So I think we were doing like $10 or something, and for some reason I couldn't do that. I don't know, someone was up to this PayPal, so we just decided to gift him like every DLC for Rocket League that came out after that. So it ended up working out that way. So he's already taken care of. It'd be more for like an exhibition, but I think it'd be fun to have, maybe see the old teams kind of play again. But yeah, so Jamesbot was in this tournament, and he reached out to me a little bit after and was like, hey, if you ever want to play like H1ers or anything like that, hit me up on TS. I've got a TS channel here, and my team and we all hang out here. So fast forward a couple months, I've got the PC now. I hop on TS. I mean, it's the first time I'd ever used it. I was completely new to TS and Skype, and Discord wasn't even out yet. So this is way back then. So I kind of jumped in at that time and started hanging out with James, and of course didn't really know anything about him other than him being a part of this PC Needs Love tournament. So that's when I found out about Evolve and his experience in the marketing and business industry and like what he does for his day-to-day. And that's what it kind of clicked to me, like, hey, this guy knows so much more about the things that I don't really know about. I bet if we team together, we could probably do some really cool stuff. And so, we talked with Chris or Quest Ferret and the rest of the RLG team, and it just kind of happened. For me, it's just really fortunate that he ended up competing in that tournament, and we got connected from there, and just kind of, it's kind of fate in a way. It's interesting.
Insane.
Yeah. So, a lot of this stuff has just been, like, I could not have predicted any of this. I did not anticipate anything like this happening. It all just kind of, I made decisions that worked out in my favor. Other people kind of came into my path, and, we worked together and we made cool things happen, and, like, it's all kind of built to now. The RLC Pro League happened because of all these things kind of leading up to it. Even the fact that we kind of ran out of funding. It's like, well, we wanted to keep doing Royale. We knew people loved it, but, maybe we'll try this Pro League thing. I think we could do a really good job with it. And, hey, it'll give us some time to build up some funds. We'll start off with a $1,000 prize pool and see where it goes. And then, of course, out of nowhere, everybody donates like crazy.
Oh, stupid. What was the actual total?
So $5,333 was the final amount. And that came from, there's $1,000 from Psionics alone, which blew our minds, because at the time we didn't even know that Psionics knew who we were.
Right.
We hoped they did, but they were super busy with all the stuff they had going on. So it was like, hopefully Psionics likes what we're doing. We love their game. We're trying to do this for them and also for the community. So we hope that they like it. And so that was like the first sense of like appreciation that came. And that was everything. Like, I was in tears when that happened. That was incredible. And so many people in the Psionics company, donated, and we're in the chat, and we're just like cheering it on. From the start of it, because we started in December. We had the Pro League qualifiers, we had an NA Pro draft when we did the announcement, and then we ran through January, February, and finished up in March. And I mean, this thing just started picking up momentum, and we really thought that maybe we could hit about 5K on the finals of the Pro League. We actually ended up hitting 10K, and it was the most that had ever been seen in one place for Rocket League in the history of Rocket League. So that was, I mean, that was an incredible experience. That whole,
For those that don't know what he's talking about viewership numbers, not the prize pool. So he's talking about 10K viewers, which is huge for Rocket League. We average like what still on stream, like unless we get big names streaming, we average around like 2 to 3K viewers, and have one stream alone have triple that and then some was astronomical. Nobody had that planned. Nobody knew that was going to happen.
It wasn't, I mean, it's not like the RLCS, which is like an official thing between Twitch and Psyonix. Right. Like, this was just some ragtag group of community people that just wanted to do something cool, and it ended up getting all of that. So it was just a really incredible experience. That's about the point where I was like, you know what? This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is really what I'm supposed to be doing. Because in November of the previous year, oil and gas industry has been down for the past couple of years. I got laid off. And, you know, I had job offers. I thought about going back and working somewhere else in the same industry. But it just made sense to me to stick with RLC and just ride it out and see where it would go. And, you know, the success of the Pro League, the appreciation for the community and from Psyonix kept me going. You know, I was kind of living off of my savings. I was dwindling down to almost nothing, and hoping that something was going to come along. I didn't know, obviously, that the RLCS was going to be a thing, and I didn't know that Twitch and Psyonix were both going to be looking to work together and to, you know, hire different people. So I was kind of winging it. You know, I was just kind of living on a prayer there, and thankfully the RLCPL had as much success as it did, because that told me that I was on the right path. That told me that I was doing something. I was in a good team. I was in a good place, and we were going somewhere.
Right, and that seems to be a common story too. Because I mean, you look at even other community tournaments. You guys obviously got your guys' sub button. Shortly thereafter, you saw Psyonix and Twitch. You could tell there were some things going in the plan, because even like the Pulsar Premier League with Carpet. He only had like 200 followers or something like that. You helped him out, you know, kind of get it all started. Carpet, nobody knew who this guy was. He already had a sub button as soon as he started streaming.
I knew.
Oh,
I knew Carpet. We accidentally ran into each other because we were like on the same stream at the same time. So I knew Carpet. I was like the first guy. There we go.
Well, I didn't know Carpet because
nobody knew me or Carpet, but we knew each other.
I knew you because you had that spinning ball stream.
That was I met Carpet like in November. We ran into each other, and Spinning Ball happened in February. Like at this point, we're talking about RLC Pro League and stuff. Like I was just playing Rocket League with my buddies and streaming to 3 or 4 viewers. So that was way. I was just
biggest cast for me was like 40, 50 viewers. Sometimes it's just like jeez. But then it blew up. Like Carpet got his sub button. He started picking up momentum. PPL started bringing in. You guys were being more consistent with everything. And then the big thing that happened was you guys got sub buttons. Community tournaments started popping up like crazy. And then you guys got sponsorships. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So Psyonix reached out to us in January or February of this year. And, you know, we're just kind of asking us, like, hey, you know, I see you're doing this Pro League thing. What happened to Royale? Kind of like, just kind of touching base, you know, telling us, you know, that they appreciate everything that we're doing. So, you know, that was very, I mean, that was everything to us. I mean, like I said, we were just hoping to do a good job for them. We were hoping to do them proud. And the fact that we were even talking to them was incredible. I mean, I remember the first time that Luke reached out to me, I was like fanboying because it's like, holy crap, this is Psyonix. They want to talk to me. This is insane. And so we started talking about a bunch of different things, and the idea came up of, hey, we can help you guys out. We like what you're doing. We want to work together. And that blew my mind. The idea of us working with Psyonix to put something together for this community was incredible. It was more than I could have ever asked for. So in April of 2016, we announced our partnership with Psyonix to run Rocket Royale, a weekly tournament, $600 prize pool. I mean, it was insane. I mean, it was kind of just affirmation that, hey, we're doing the right thing here, and we're doing something good for this community, and people like it, and you know, the developers of this game, the whole reason we're all here is because of Psyonix, and they appreciate what we're doing. Like,
And this like big
everybody
announcement
asked
too. It came
Yeah,
right
it's
after.
huge.
I mean, RLCS was literally the month before. They were like, "Yep, RLCS
Yeah.
is coming." March happened. RLCS is like, "All right, get ready, signups. Here we go." And then after that, they started making their move. I know you in March is when you started talking to like my boss, Justin Delario, Twitch Esports guy, and all that kind of stuff. And then it just started snowballing, like
Yeah.
one after another, and it just doesn't stop. Like
No,
every time
it
you're like,
doesn't.
"All right, time to settle. Things are gonna be great," and then you see the announcement today. It's just like, "Oh, here's more." It's like, God, how do we like? You can't wrap your head around it. It's just
No.
unbelievable.
And it all kind of happened at the perfect time for me because, like I said, you know, I've got a wife, 2 kids, decent sized house, you know, mortgage, all that stuff. You know, I was kind of living off of a dream, hoping that this was going to go somewhere. You know, I'd lost my job in November, whole company kind of shut down, and you know, I was just winging it. I thought maybe this will go somewhere. You know, maybe Psyonix is hiring, maybe some other organization would consider me. Who knows? So we did the RLCPL, had a lot of success with that, and then around that same time, I started talking to Justin Delario, and thank God that Golden Boy recommended me to him, and the guys at Psyonix, you know, gave good reference and recommendation of me to them, because that got me to where I am today. So Nick Allen, I interviewed with him in April, and was hired by Twitch April 15th of this year, and that was it for me. Like, that was complete affirmation that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Up to that point, I've had I had doubts in the early days. I really did. Especially when I was trying to do web design and I had no clue what I was doing.
If you guys missed
And
that image that Quest Fair put in chat, Quest,
Oh,
if you could
please
put that
no.
again, it was beautiful.
Please no.
it was
Wait, where?
it was bad.
Where?
The original like Rocket League Central site where it's just like two
Uh,
images and like hello
Oh,
world kind of
please
tech.
show.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
If Quest is still in here, I know he's got
Yes.
that image. You can
Yes,
copy paste
we
that a
need
bunch of
this.
times, man.
You know, yeah, that definitely wasn't my forte. I was not meant to do web design. But yeah, I mean, in the early days, I really wondered. Like, I was putting in more time in Rocket League and Rocket League Central than I was doing in my own job. My wife was like, "Why are you doing this? You're not getting paid. What's the point of this?" And I'm like, "Because I love it. Because I love this community, and I think this is going somewhere. And I think maybe one day I can maybe turn this into a job. Who knows? But for now, it's fun." I mean, she was baffled at the fact that I was spending more time working on the game than actually playing it. I mean, to date, I think I have 700 hours in the game, and I started before most of these people, other than like the SARPits, of course. So it's kind of crazy. Like, I've been playing it since May, and I only have a couple hundred hours. I just
Only a couple hundred hours in a game, right?
No,
Can't always
it's funny that
carpet.
that's nothing. That's considered like no time at all.
No.
I think
it's
I
really
learned
not.
pretty early on that I wasn't going to be able to compete, and it made more sense to me to just, you know what, I'm going to run tournaments instead of playing in them. I'm just going to run them. I think that's a better choice for me. So yeah, I ended up getting hired in April, and that was everything. I mean, that told me that yes, this is what I was meant to do. That was the right decision. You know, my wife thought I was crazy, and you know, I was able to say, yeah, I was right. I did the right thing, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I stuck with it. I'm glad I found this community, and I'm very proud of the work I've done, the people I've been able to work with that have got me to this point, and I'm proud of what we're continuing to do and where we're going in the future.
It's crazy.
The link's in chat, by the way. That's it, right? That's what I'm looking at. The Rocket League Central. Look at this thing.
guys
Why
want me
did
to
they
pull it up?
ever stop? Why did you stop using this? That's what I want to know. Like, this
'Cause
is what I want to see.
It was terrible.
That's what we want to see.
No,
When we go to RocketLeagueCentral.com.
no, I
Beautifully
took
done website.
that down a long time ago. Yeah, it was a good move to switch over to rocket-league.com. Those
Yeah,
guys.
so what? Oh, I want to know something from you, Clyde. You mentioned JDL. That's you and yourself and Lawler's boss.
Yeah.
Is he on a scale of 1 to 10? How terrifying is that man, and why do you say 10?
Because you can't read
so-
them. You can't read him at all. Like, he'll make jokes about firing you once a week, and you don't know if he's kidding or not. Like, doesn't help that I work with Carpet, so I mean, he always wants to fire Carpet.
Yeah, I've never been on the receiving end of that, so
Oh,
I've
you're so
always
lucky.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I've always kind of been on the inside with him, and yeah, I don't know. He's got a very interesting background. If you ever get the chance to talk to him about it sometime, you definitely should. The guy knows his stuff. I mean, he's been around esports forever, and yeah, he's a tough guy to read, but he's really really interested in pushing forward Rocket League and pushing forward esports in general, like as an industry. And it's just really cool that it all worked out the way it did because, like I said, I've wanted to push forward esports in Rocket League, not necessarily my own brand or Rocket League Central, but just the entire thing. And that's what Twitch's goal is as well. I mean, that's why Twitch and Psyonix are partnered together to essentially, run this thing. And from the Rocket League Championship Series to building a community and the infrastructure to foster long-term growth of the game and build the scene up and just do everything for it. It fits right in line with what I was trying to do. And it's just so cool to be able to do that with Twitch. Somebody, an organization that's been around for essentially ever with esports and has been so paramount to the growth of esports. I can really get behind the message and the motto that they have. It's just, I don't know. It's a really cool experience to be able to work with somebody like J-Del and like Nick Allen and Justin Wong and these guys that have
big names,
so much more experience than I do. Like, you guys look to me and I'm like, dude, these guys are incredible. I mean, they started it all. So the fact that they believe in Rocket League and they're involved in it just tells me, like, we are good. We are set.
When Johnny Boy is afraid to introduce himself to someone. Like, if you guys don't know who Johnny Boy is, like, a lot of you guys are here because of his host. Thank you, Johnny Boy. But if Johnny Boy is afraid to introduce himself to a man, like, he's a big deal. Like,
no, listen, I told this on my stream when I was doing RLCS Storytime. Like, so many people, for some reason, thought that I was like, oh yeah, Johnny, you can go and ask J-Del this or ask J-Del that. I was like, I don't know J-Del. He's like, I'm like, eating all of the players' food. I'm freeloading over here. Leave me alone. And I'm having to go like ask J-Del things at RLCS LAN a couple of weeks ago on behalf of other people. And I was like, I'm sorry, you're busy, man. Really quickly, got a question. So I don't know why people thought that I was a good, middleman for that, but there you go. I don't know. I'm kidding, by the way. He's not actually terrifying. He seems like a really nice guy. Like, people who are, like Cloud said, the higher ups at Twitch, when they want something to happen, it happens. So I've got the same sort of mindset as Cloud does, that we're fine. Rocket League's in a good place, and we can all be very happy with that. And also, like, I just for me, I just don't really want to waste their time. So, Golden Boy, J-Del, all the other guys, I didn't talk to. I don't think I talked to, like I said, Nick Allen or the other guys from Twitch who are at RLCS, but. No, whenever I'm talking to people like that, I just try not to waste time. That's my go-to motto. But I wanted to ask, there's a couple of things that we didn't touch on, because we've talked about RLC all the way to RLCS, or the Pro League all the way to RLCS starting. But other things that you were involved in that time frame was the Titans Coliseum with Seismic White and the Winter Classic with Shalthus, am I correct? Like, those two events, I remember watching them, and they were both really interesting. I know that the Winter Classic got delayed a little bit because it was actually in spring, not in winter. But
yeah,
I'm sure you probably want to talk about them really quickly.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of along the same lines of the reason we do RLC to promote and build up the community. I had opportunities to work with a lot of different people on their own projects. So one of it was Shalthus's Winter Classic. That was something that was originally planned to be earlier, like you mentioned, in winter. But with the RLC Pro League going on and then the RLCS announcement and a couple other things that happened, we ended up pushing that back. And that was mostly his. Like, I mean, I was there kind of helping and advising and just doing whatever I could. Whenever somebody's running their own event, I don't want to come in and, do things my way. That's kind of what RLC's for. I wanted to help him to be successful with it. He had a really cool idea. Obviously hockey is not something that was really done in a tournament fashion. Shout out to the Rocket League hockey group, because since then they've really taken off. But up to that point, nobody was really doing that. So it was a really cool idea. It was a charity tournament, something I could totally get behind. So, I was just there to help. I was there to promote, give ideas, bounce ideas off of each other. I think we ended up actually having a team RLC that joined up in the Winter Classic, so that was pretty fun. And then the Titans Coliseum, that was Seismic White's brainchild. He really wanted to take the idea of like a draft or auction tournament and kind of turn it on its head. And it was also in a way kind of to pay homage to Utread. Seismic White has known Utread for quite some time, so he's definitely somebody else who can speak to how important that guy was for us. But yeah, I mean, his idea for this tournament, these are kind of one-off tournaments that have happened that were pretty unique and pretty cool, and things that I just wanted to help with. And that still goes on to this day. I mean, I talk with everybody in the community. That's honestly, it's now my job. Before, I was just doing it because I wanted to see everybody be successful. But now, I mean, I actually do that for Twitch. One of the things that I'm kind of tasked with doing is building this community and developing it. And obviously, it's kind of a multifaceted thing. I'm doing that, as is Psionics. Obviously they're very invested in this. But from a Twitch standpoint, like, we want this thing to grow just as much as they do. And it kind of makes sense that I would be somebody that would be a part of that. So I talk with, the community groups on a daily basis, from Pro RL to Shift Pro League to the new guys over at Hype, and to even new ones that are just kind of starting to build up. I've worked with them over the past couple of months, and it's an opportunity for me to kind of pass along the knowledge that I've learned and kind of help them with making sure that they're putting their best foot forward and getting promoted, and just being successful. Something else that I've done is, and this was kind of before I actually started with Twitch, is I put together a caster report of the community.
Oh,
yeah.
This is super interesting, actually.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to ask you next, but.
So the caster community report is something I put together kind of on a whim. I was talking to Golden Boy, and I knew that he was going to be trying to pick up different individuals for the RLCS. Obviously Psionics has their own vested interest, Twitch has theirs, we're all working together. But I thought, hey, maybe I can help, because I work with these guys, obviously with the RLC team all the time, and then other community casters, from the guys over at Mocket, the guys like yourself, Lawler over at VVV. I've talked to everybody in the community. So it made sense to me, like, hey, let me try to help the RLCS out. And maybe this will be a way to ensure that at least everybody's considered. So I put together a list of, I think, 40 or 41 casters in the community.
So many out there.
And this,
what?
I mean,
41?
Yeah, this ranged from the originals, like Freezing Wolves and Shoutouts, like the first two dudes that ever did casting, all the way to the newest guys that were just like, hey, I want to cast. I think it'd be really cool. And I put together little blurbs about each one, like, okay, Jamesbot, he has experience casting before. He did Evolve. Here's a couple VODs of him casting. He's able to do play-by-play, analyst. He's able to kind of be versatile and do a multitude of things.
He's just the best, let's face it. He's the best.
I made sure to make it very unbiased.
Did you make him tier? You should have had a tier list, like the power rankings, right? You had Jamesbot at the top, right? I mean, I would have Jamesbot at the top.
I think Jamesbot is definitely one of the best in the community, and I think that goes to show just why he's been so successful. But the point of this report was to kind of show everybody individually why they're successful. Like James is, he's got a girlfriend. He lives up in Michigan. He's got a full-time job. So he's a successful dude outside of Rocket League, and he, had a casting gig prior to Rocket League as well. So
you put on his profile that he had a girlfriend. Sorry to keep interrupting, but this is so interesting.
Yeah,
I wanted to it back. I'm going on Tinder.
It makes them understand.
Right
it makes them personable, and that's the point of it. It
exactly.
allows them.
It makes sense.
Gives relatability, obviously, but
it makes sense.
Yeah,
not real.
We were gonna make James a Tinder profile once I met Carpet, but we decided against it. So we didn't want to have any possible angry girlfriend back at home. Yeah, I almost did it anyway.
So I put together a list of, like I said, 40 some odd people, and everybody was on there. I mean, I had you on there, Johnny. I had you on there, Lawler.
I want to see my profile so badly, but at the same time, I don't.
I'll have to go find it.
Wasn't Scottish jerk tears everybody apart.
Scumbag. He's so boring. Monotone voice. Just really terrible facial hair compared to Findable Carpet, which is obviously why Carpet got chosen over me. And there's probably the list goes on. but we
It's-
don't have time to discuss all that.
Carpet back at that time was not really known by anybody. I had talked to him several times because, I saw what PPL was trying to do. I really loved the idea, and so I reached out to him and just kind of like took him under my wing and just tried to help him as much as I could. And so I got to see him kind of in his element. I got to know him, saw his personality, and I was like, this dude is totally going to be successful. Obviously it's easier for me being on the outside to see that than him himself to be like, oh yeah, I don't.
No, it's the same. I got the same vibe, honestly. I met him in November, and I was like, he's only got a tiny little Twitch channel right now, but I don't know, I would have bet money on it
Carpet
back then,
is-
that he was going to go places just because he's got a really.
We don't need to pump his ego even more. But like Carpet
He's
has a very
addictive.
addictive personality.
Yeah.
Like when you talk to Carpet, there's something about him where you're like, I need to become friends with this guy. He looks out for you. Like when he was first starting out, he was one of those guys that it didn't matter who you were or what was going on. He was willing to sit down and talk and just get to know you and be a friend rather than like an organizer. And it's part of the reason why his success has definitely blown up. I mean, his Twitch page, he won Channel of the Month. He's at like just shy of 8K followers now. And that happened in
in
months.
a race. I need
Months.
to check.
Like he blew up because of what kind of person he is. And he's got that damn beard. And one day I'm going to shave it off and put it on myself, and then it's my turn. So
Damn
'cause I
it,
can't
dude!
grow
I
one.
need to stream. He's like 200 followers ahead of me. I've got to catch up again. We keep like leapfrogging each other. But yeah,
It's
he's got a
ridiculous.
much better work ethic.
boy
with
deserves
streaming than I-
everything. Deserves
He deserves
everything
more
that came to him.
focus than me. For real.
That's what happens when you put in the work, man. That he was not only organizing the tournaments, he was casting them, telling the players when to show up. Like he literally did every facet of PPL with the help of a couple key figures, and then eventually like casters like myself and Leaf tried to help out. We started getting pairing. Johnny, you were there a lot. Like there's a lot of guys that kind of stepped in and just did whatever we could to help and relieve some pressure from him. And he didn't care. He just put in all this work. It was insane.
Yeah.
He did. It
That's-
just shows hard work paying off because he had
Right.
he had a like his engineering degree or something like that,
Right.
and he just was living barely, like no money, and it just worked out.
Yeah, I identified with him quite a bit. Just talking to him and hearing his story. That's one of the reasons why I help everybody, but I really went out of my way to make sure that like I talked to him as much as I possibly could, because I just saw so much of myself in him, how much he just took everything on his shoulders and just was like, I'm gonna do this, like regardless of whoever's around to help me, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make it happen. He learned web design. I mean, his website kicked the original Rocket League Central's website's
I mean,
ass.
it
was
I don't know if you've seen the stream,
insane.
but it's still up for you,
Yeah.
buddy. I got that picture
Yeah.
going. It's not going anywhere right now.
Great. But yeah, I mean, he learned web design. He took on casting. He took on league operations, just running the whole thing. I mean, there was probably like a 2 to 3 week span where I talked to Carpet just about every night, just about ideas that I had, ideas that he had, hopeful, wishful thinking, all that sort of stuff. So it's just really cool to see him in the place that he is now, because the guy's really put in a lot of time and effort.
I've got one other question about the caster report before I'm satisfied. How on earth did you manage to persuade them to hire Lawler, who's obviously, when you're trying to think of a caster report for him, you're like really scraping the barrel. Like you must have done a number on that report to get them to hire Lawler. I'm kidding, but
Do you
jokes
actually
aside,
want to
I
know?
do
Do
actually
you guys
want to
know the history?
I do actually want to know that story.
So-
for real. Jokes aside.
The original story of how I got Cloud, I don't know how much insight you can give to this, but you did compile a list. And the issue and part of the decision making that went into choosing the casters was bringing in the community. Leaf was part of Let's Play Canada. He had a big following for him. Jamesbot was who he was. I mean, you saw Wavepunk was starting to get bigger on YouTube. Like everybody had a larger and larger fan base. I was the smallest. Like when I started RLCS, I had like 75 followers on Twitter. I was a nobody, and I know that. Like I casted, and I got lucky that Cloud definitely pushed forward, and I got the chance to talk to Golden Boy simply because Leaf. Leaf and I, as everybody knows, go way back. He and I casted VVV for a very long time together. And Leaf, no matter what he says, will always give due credit because, Johnny, it's just as important to be a good caster as it is to have a very competent co-caster. It's very difficult to cast alone, and when you finally find someone that can do it with you very well, it makes a world of difference. And Leaf was that guy. I mean, we both did VVV. We casted a couple tournaments together because I filled in a lot and just put in the time and effort. And Leaf and I just kind of took off together. So when Leaf got introduced, they were still looking for that last man. And Leaf threw me in there. He kind of gave me another initial push because he will owe the credit to myself, even though I think it was all him. Like, he literally said, like, without Lawler as my co-caster, I would not be as a caster where I am today. And I owe him for that, and I always will. But Golden Boy was like, all right, send me some more information, like, show me some reviews. So he sent me, like, some PPL stuff I did. He sent the VVV, like, kickoff tournaments. And Golden Boy literally was just like, I don't know who this kid is, but he's got some talent. Like, I can see it. There's something about what's going on, and it's weird, like, reiterating that about myself, but Golden Boy Lose, like, I see something in you that I know is going to work out, and I'm putting my cards in it. I'm fighting for you. And he literally, and that's why Golden Boy is one of my idols and always going to gain my respect. Golden Boy literally put my name up to the guys at Psyonix and let them make the final decision. So Golden Boy really reached out hard for me.
He is a global icon and a national treasure. So with my report, I was very unbiased. Like, I didn't push the RLC people above anybody else. I just put them alphabetical order. Here's who is in this community that you can choose from. So you were on there, but I mean, again, I didn't prop you up or do anything like that. That was all Leaf. Leaf is somebody. God, I spent so many nights talking to him about what I wanted to do with RLC, and is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? The guy, I mean, like you said, he runs his own esports company with Let's Play KW, and I mean, he's done a lot of stuff outside of Rocket League.
He's been trying for a long time.
Solid background in Smash. So I mean, I leaned on him quite a bit as well. He's another name we could throw in as somebody who's been very kind of crucial to me to help me get to where I am today. So it was really cool seeing him get involved. And, I definitely remember the two of you pretty much, like, constantly doing VVV. Like, it was always the two of you guys. So it was really easy to find. I actually remember on the report, there were a couple casts I put for both you and him that had the two of you in there. So it was kind of cool seeing the two of you work together. And then obviously now you're both together on the RLCS. So that was definitely Leaf pushing for you. Again, I tried to be as unbiased as possible. I didn't want to come across like I was pushing my own agenda or anything like that. So yeah, that was all him. And then of course Golden Boy just seeing the potential in you and going all out.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then it's crazy how that stuff works out, because now, Johnny and I casted a Rocket Royal together once, right?
Yeah.
And then as soon as people in my stream started being like, dude, you should do a podcast, you should do something, the first person I thought about, and when I mentioned to you, you're like, Johnny Boy. That's it. I could listen to you guys talk about random nonsense. I don't even care if games are being played. I could listen to you guys talk.
So glad that there was like some downtime, or else we wouldn't have known that we could just talk about nonsense.
We just had to fill, man,
10,
and it didn't sound
minutes.
like Phil.
Yeah, we had to fill for 10 or 15 minutes because a game started without us, and then the players didn't read their DMs and they started another game without us. So we had to wait for 2 games to finish off stream before we could hop in the third one. So I think it was Kings of Urban.
It was Kings of Urban.
But I can't remember who they were playing, like Mocket, EU, or Flipside or somebody. It was a disaster, but it was great fun, like, because we were just chatting about Rocket League.
Stuff that we don't have time to do, like, during RLCS or like actual casts. Like, if you guys want, like, everybody's like, oh, we want more analysis or we want less analysis, play the effing game kind of stuff. Like, you get a very split audience in this, but like, we love, like, if you give us time to just sit and talk and analyze and talk about play styles and player styles and stuff, we'll do it. We love to do it. That's what analysts are here for. We enjoy that stuff. So the fact that we got that downtime and me and Johnny just got to start talking about that stuff, is like, all right, sweet, another person who enjoys the game in the facet that I do. And that's where Cloud was just like, yeah, we don't even need games. If you two just want to talk, I'm down. So when TTT started becoming a thing, I'm like, Johnny Boy, EU side, and he and I will just banter back and forth, and it worked out. And now you guys are all here. So it was pretty crazy how that stuff just kind of falls into place. Like, small, as Bob Rouse says, there's only happy little mistakes.
Happy little accidents.
Yeah, so we had a happy little accident and ended up working out, and now we're here. So, and it just seems to be the story of everything Rocket League based. Like, little things happen here, there, they pan out, they work out, and it just keeps going. So But to summarize it all up, obviously we had the cast report, people got chosen, RLCS happened, and then cream of the crop a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks now, we had our first LAN. CloudFuel, you obviously have a very unique position because without you, to be completely honest, RLCS would not have happened. The Rocket League esports team needed someone to take the reins and push it forward, and that was you in a nutshell.
Or it wouldn't have been so community focused, right?
Right,
It would
right.
have been. It might have happened, but it definitely wouldn't have had this community feel and everybody like family coming together and making something
Right.
awesome. At least
Right.
that's what
So
I think.
we've all kind of done like an RLCS recap with our fan base and all that kind of stuff. But if you can summarize the feeling of what it was like to see all the players, get into the hotel and kind of see the player lounge and go to the venue for the first time, and like kind of bring us through that in your perspective.
I mean, it was surreal. Being at the hotel, the venue itself, seeing everything. Because I saw the mock-ups of what we were trying to do
Right.
and what we wanted to look like. Just seeing it actually come to life, watching NGE do all the production stuff. I mean, it was just incredible. I mean, there were several times that I was just moved to tears. I mean, I felt like I don't know, like I was resonating, I was buzzing. I don't know how to explain it. I was filled with so much joy because this has been a year and change that I've been working towards this, but even more so, like Gibbs and these guys that have been playing for God since SARP first came out. I mean, this is what they've been wanting for years. So to finally get there and for everybody to be on board with it and everybody to be so excited and so many people from home watching. I mean, we pulled almost 85,000. It was incredible. It was so incredible. I mean, it's just there's really no words that can describe it. You have to go to a LAN if you've never been to a LAN before.
Yeah.
And I'd never
Oh,
been. That was my
it
first.
insane.
That was my first LAN. So what an experience for that to be my first one.
You mean what a big experience?
What a
It's
big experience.
What a big experience, XD. That's right.
Yeah.
God damn it.
It was so surreal. I mean, I got to meet people that I've talked to for ages. I got to meet like all the Psionics guys. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And I can't wait to get started on the next one. The announcement just came out. Season 2 starting up very soon. I don't think we've announced the location yet, but it's going to be awesome. I mean, like you said, it's 2 weeks ago, but it kind of feels like it was just yesterday. I mean, it's hard to. I'm never going to forget that. I mean, that's just going to be, no matter how many more we have, no matter what else I do, that's going to be an experience that stays with me forever.
Mm.
I mean, it's the culmination of several years of work by so many different people, and it was a hit. I mean, it was a total success.
And that's just a year on from the first Rocket League tournament, right? Or give or take, roughly a year from the beta tournament.
Yeah,
That you yourself ran.
Yeah, it was in May of 2015, so just over a year.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's just
It's
hard
a
to
Insane journey.
It's just
Look at
hard to
esports.
fathom.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at esports in general, like that doesn't happen. I mean, everybody looks at League of Legends and CS:GO and Dota. It's like, guys, if you look at year one of those games, they were nowhere near this. Rocket
Yeah.
League is the first esport to start up and basically within a year go from kind of unheard of to shocking the world and setting the precedent for all esports. And that's something to really write home about. Like, it's not just, oh, Rocket League did a cool thing. We're kind of setting the standard for all esports in a way. And that's pretty incredible. I'm so happy to be a part of that. And I can't wait to see like just how much we do for the next one.
Yeah, and that's something
One-
that I before I cut you.
Before we move on from the RLCS, this RLCS, I want to know, like, from Cloud, what are like your secret stories that are not so secretive that you can't say them on stream, but people won't know about? What, like, stuff that might have happened at the RLCS that was pretty cool?
Yeah,
What are your like
that
things
cheeky
you're taking
insight,
away from
yeah.
the
Cheeky
from the
insight.
league? Yeah.
Um,
What are you gonna remember for the rest of your life? That
Yeah.
people might not know about.
So we got in. I got in Wednesday, and Wave and I were the first two in. They didn't have our rooms ready, so we were just kind of hanging out in the lobby. That's when we met the hospitality team, Kim and her crew. We went up to the player suite, and that was just an incredible experience. Just seeing all the players sitting there, and just being able to hang out together. I remember one night, I think it was the Kings of Urban guys and a couple of others started playing this silly game. I don't even know. You could probably explain it better than I could. But I came in, y'all were playing some game where you're like throwing a ball around and like
Oh
trying to
my.
bounce it off the pillow and
Oh
redirect
no.
it. It's like, what? But that's what
It-
happens when you put us in the same room. Like,
They
what do you
turned the
expect?
balcony into a Rocket League arena because the balcony was actually between two buildings and there was another wall at the other side. So it actually had three walls and like a
Right.
little barrier. So it was pretty much besides the roof, just a Rocket League pitch. And you put some Rocket League pros in there and a ball, they're just going to start throwing it at the walls, start trying to rebound it. And Marky Duda had a big pillow, like you said, and he was trying to, get some deflections. Basically playing, Marky's a big table tennis fan, and he wanted to play table tennis all weekend, and he couldn't find a good table. The one upstairs wasn't satisfactory, so he made do with, the ball and the big cushion as a bat. He's playing table
Say
tennis with Lachinio. Ah, yeah, cushion. Cushion, man.
Cushion.
That's how you say
Cushion.
it. Sorry, my
Sounds good.
accent is all over the place. When I got back, the guy at my corner shop thought that I was American, so like, I don't know. I've got a very malleable accent, I guess. It gets affected very easily by people around me.
We do what we
Yeah,
can.
that was dangerous actually. It's at times I was a bit worried for Scrub Killer because he was present, and of course he's extremely small, and the ball could have taken him
So
out
cute.
at any moment. But that was a funny game to be sure. Definitely
Yeah,
pretty.
that was
Johnny, I
fun.
got the same question for you, man. What was your like most memorable like things that you? I mean, obviously we've been talking for weeks, months on stream. Like you
Mm.
need to be at the first LAN. It's gonna be like it's
Mhm.
something you'll never forget. But like, what is like that one moment that you're just like, I will. When I think back to the RLCS years from now, the first one, like, what's it gonna be?
Oh, I can't pick one. That's too hard. I'm really bad at choosing, but just a few quick mentions. Obviously, going in and meeting everybody at the player hotel for the first time is awesome. I'm like, why? Like I said in my stream when I did this story time, why are all these handsome players, hiding on stream with no face cam? All these guys who are streaming without face cam. I thought they were going to be little crusty nerds, but now they're, like a boy band, like Golden Boy said at the stage. So that was awesome. And for the next LAN, I'm telling you guys, get out there early because me and Marky, Mike, and Cux went early. We arrived on the Monday, not the Wednesday like most other people, and that was just, easily the best thing to do. I think that
Easily.
we had a great time. on the
Though you
beach.
did have us freaking out because you guys didn't show up until like right before the mandatory meeting. And we're
Yeah,
like,
I didn't. Well, we didn't know
"What's
that
that?"
we didn't
What?
know that it was urgent because
Yeah.
we heard that they had to check in to their rooms at some time, but then you said you guys get here as soon as you can. We were actually about to leave. We were like, oh, I wonder why we're in a hurry all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But yeah, being there for the whole week was really good, and even for the next one, if it's not, well, I don't know where it'll be. We've not made plans yet, obviously, but be there like as early as you can, realistically be, and just have a good time in the location and get acclimatized. And another thing on that note is flying west to east is way worse than flying east to west. So Americans who are coming over, you want to dodge that jet lag, get over there as soon as you can, and get acclimatized with the time zone and the different weather that you're gonna have to put up with because it took me days to get over jet lag after I came back. It didn't help that I stayed up all night on the Sunday before we flew, and then I couldn't sleep in the plane because it's a plane. But either way, flying west to east is worse for reasons. So fly out early. That was definitely for me pretty awesome.
I mean, I think that's good to detail because the people there are gonna know about that. Like I talk and mention about how like it was like leaving a family, and those people are gonna want to get out there early to be able to just relax and hang out with their friends and family before the busy work happens. So I know like if I can, I'll fly out early. Like I'll be there a couple days early just to
Yeah.
just
Oh,
to
it
go
makes a big
see
difference.
and
Big
visit
difference.
and enjoy it. I mean, we got the chance to go see the ride offices on Monday, and I got to literally go for 30 minutes because my plane, not that it mattered, I didn't get a flight until 8 hours after that, Delta. But yeah, I got to sit, and it was just cool to like experience the town. And for people that haven't been there before, it's the opportunity that you get, and you might as well make the most of it. So I'm glad that you guys came out a little bit early and got to see a little bit and just hang out and hang with your boys, So pretty cool, but exciting stuff. I know Cloud, we did something special for you.
Yeah, you
Say
guys
that
had me.
Okay, wasn't that special? Okay, never mind.
No, you guys completely blew me away with that. So, just for the people at home, so like the stream cut off after Cosmic won, Golden Boys, like, Rocket League Esports has arrived. They did the little montage thing and ended it. Then Psyonix went up on stage with all the players, and they were doing like meet and greets and signings and stuff like that. And then Jamesbot comes down and it's like, hey, we're gonna do a picture real quick. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I go up on stage, and I come up right as I run up at right as the picture's being taken. So I'm like right on the side. So I don't even know if I actually got in. I'm like, okay, I don't know what the point of that was, but cool, whatever. And then everybody starts dispersing, so I'm about to head off, and then James like stops me and like pulls me kind of the center of the stage. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And he just starts talking to me. And at first I think it's just like him and I talking, and then I realize there are people crowded around, and he's like kind of having a speech moment. I'm like, what's going on here? So he's basically just telling me, thanking me for the stuff that I've done and just being a part of this. And then he reaches into a bag and pulls out this flag that he had made for me that has my CloudFuel logo, which Seismic White made for me, by the way. So he had a flag that everybody signed, from Psyonix devs to pros to people in the community, just like everybody that was there at the LAN. And I mean, I'm not going to tear up again. I don't know. Did you sign it?
I was going to, and then we were actually in James's room, and the flag was out, and I was about to sign it. Then a knock at the door, like alerted us. We're like, oh no, who is it? And it was actually you. So we had to throw it away. And I'm not sure if I remember to sign it or not, but I was about to, and then you came in and stopped me. So,
all right, well, I'll bring it to the next one, and we'll.
If I didn't sign it, then I'll definitely sign it.
Because a lot of us like our Rocket League careers, I guess the best way to announce it is to you, CloudFuel. So like, as all the casters were just like, how can we pay him back? And we're like, let's make him cry. We'll do that. So we
totally made me cry.
So we got that, and it was kind of
all weekend. I was like controlling it, like just I was keeping it under control, and then you guys wrecked me.
Yep,
I couldn't help it.
So. You have the flag, Cloud. Have you got it with you?
At least we want to talk about. So now that season 2's been announced, all that kind of stuff. What things can we talk about? Future of Rocket League. What's going to go down? What do you think? What do you hope? What do you? I mean, there's only so much you can talk about, obviously.
Dream.
Gotcha. So it looks like the RLCS announcement has been taken down. I'm not sure. Maybe they need to tweak the wording or something, but I mean, it's out. People know about it, so I won't get in trouble, hopefully, for saying anything about it. RLCS Season 2 just around the corner. Registration is going to be starting August 24th through September 7th. It's going to be a 3-month season just like it was last time, but it's a 1 qualifier system this time. I reached out to several people in the community, and I also collected a ton of feedback from the subreddit and just anybody that I saw that was like giving any kind of feedback on things good or bad with the RLCS. I collected all that, put it together in like a 14-page document, and then gave it to Psyonix and to Justin and my team for Twitch, and just kind of like, hey, this is what the community is asking for. So, obviously we listen. Obviously we're working together to make this thing as solid as possible. And, we took a lot of the things that you guys had to say, and we put that into effect. We made it simpler, made it easier to understand. The biggest reason for season 1 for having the 2 qualifiers split, which they weren't even really qualifiers, they're actually splits. But the reason for that is because we honestly had no clue if the teams that we thought were the pros were actually the pros. Because up until that time, there'd never been an official tournament, right? It had all been done by Rocket League Central and other community groups. So we kind of needed to make sure that this really was the best of the best. Maybe there were some players that just never got into the pro scene or competitive at all, hanging out at home, and they were really good, and we just didn't know about it. So the 2 split system was designed to make sure that we found the absolute best of the best. Now, obviously it turned out that, we really did know who the pros were early on, but, we had to figure that out going through it. So now that we know who they are, we have a simpler system. It's a 1 qualifier system, but that puts so much more pressure and more burden on that first qualifier, the 2-week period that the qualifier is going over. If you don't make it in there, that's it. I mean, you've got to do your best. So you can't come in like think you're just going to waltz into the group stage and then make your way from there. You've got to come out hitting it hard from the very beginning. So we're taking where we left off season 1, and we're just hitting that and going full speed from the get-go. We've got the qualifiers coming up. I believe that's September 10th and 11th, and then the following weekend. And then we've got league play after that. And, I mean, it's going to be very quick. Everything's going to get started real soon. So for those teams out there that are, changing, I mean, people are leaving left and right and creating new teams. You better get everything taken care of very soon, because we've got registration just around the corner, and you want to make sure that you're going to be there competing for your shot at over $250,000 in prize pool.
Money, dude.
It's absolutely incredible.
Is that split across the qualifiers and the LAN itself, or is the LAN that's a 250K? I imagine it's between everything, right? Because that's what they did for the first one, 75K between everything. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's everything. I think it's 125K for the LAN itself, which obviously is incredible. That's more than double what it was this last time. And I mean, there's potential for it to grow. I mean, we've all seen the stuff on the subreddit about crates coming in. I don't know exactly how that's all going to work, but I would assume that that's going to be something that plays into it. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But suffice it to say that between Twitch and Psyonix, like, we are invested in this. We want to make sure that you guys that are competing, could turn this into a career. We want you to compete. We want you to be successful, and we want you to keep doing this. And that's the whole reason we're blowing it out for season 2. And this is just a year out from this all getting started, and we're already looking at some unprecedented prize pools for Rocket League.
Life-changing money.
Absolutely. I mean,
life-changing money.
If you come away the winner of this, you're gonna have a nice payday.
Some dank bank to look after.
Dank bank.
The dank bank.
And for me personally, something that I've been working towards, again, it's all work in progress. Everything happens for a reason. But I really want to see the inclusion of other regions. I've actually been toying with the idea of bringing Rocket Royale to Oceania. That's something that Oceania is a region that I've been watching since pretty much day one, and they have an incredible scene down there. I know you Johnny, did analysis for their Rocket League Oceania Championship Series that they recently just had. Kronovi's been in several of their tournaments. I mean, they're kind of they're growing, and they've been around for a while. They're starting to push up, and I'd really love to see the talent level. All ping aside, put them in the same room. How are they going to fare? Maybe they're top 5, maybe they're top 3. Who knows? I'd love to see what they can do against the other EU and NA teams out there. So that's something that I'm really hoping we're able to do in future seasons. Obviously it's kind of out of my hands. I'll help wherever I can. People bigger than me make those decisions, but I would love to see Southeast Asia, Oceania, South America, the Commonwealth independent states up in Russia with Armenia and Belarus and all those areas. Middle East has even started to pick up steam. Like this, I mean, this resembles soccer so much. So, why don't we have a world championship where there literally is every region there at the LAN kind of meeting up together? That's my hope, is that one day we get to a point to where we're doing that. I don't know if that's something that happens next year or years to come, but I'm hoping that we push towards that.
And that's awesome, because I know you're not going to stop doing what you originally started. You not only are focused on the RLCS, but you're still going to give back to the community. You're going to focus on, community development, making sure that we have like dedicated event calendars. Hopefully, like I know you and I talked a little bit about that, about possibly just being like on the Rocket Dash League website where it's like, okay, here's a calendar of all the events that are coming up. You can check it out, find an easy way to do it. Just kind of a general hub for that would be cool. Stuff like talent development, finding a way to feed. I know the biggest thing is kind of like a stepping stone, and we've talked about how we want that, kind of like how League of Legends does it, where there's like a challenger scene that feeds directly into the pro scene. Stuff like that is going to be awesome.
Oh, absolutely. So I've been working on an esports calendar for some time now, and I have pretty much everything that happens on a weekly basis in a calendar format, but I'm trying to make it even I'm trying to make it better. Like it's good enough for me, but I want to make it to to be something that's out there for everybody to use. And my hope is that I can do something where every organization that's out there in the Rocket League community can input their own data, and it would just auto filter and do whatever kind of techie science magic that it does to appear on the website. So I've been working with Quest Ferret to try to get that started, and I'm hoping that people will take that and use that on the subreddit and on other websites, because the goal is to show people that are in the community that want to compete that, hey, there are tons and tons of tournaments out there. Like, did you know that there are NA Gfinity tournaments that happen almost every night? Did you know that there's Game for Adoption that has NA and EU 3v3 tournaments? Did you know that there are ESL tournaments for specific countries and specific regions? I mean, there's tons and tons of opportunities to compete. So there's really no reason why anybody should be not competing. I mean, if they want to compete, there should be something there for them. So part of what I want to do is make sure that everybody knows what is out there. And I'm also trying to help, kind of mediate where there's maybe two of the same type of tournament in the same time slot. Maybe we could find a better way to do this. Put this one group on a different time slot where it makes more sense and we're not competing as much. So just trying to help wherever I can and further develop this community and help it grow.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, to kind of wrap things up, Johnny boy, any last minute, second things you want to ask Cloud before we kick him out of here so I can watch some preseason football?
I was just reading out the rest of this document that we've got here, and I see amidst all of the features thing, caster workshops. I'm curious what on earth that means, because that it's obviously relevant to me, and I'm interested to know what that entails. If you're willing to share.
No, not a problem. So, I mean, there's a few things that I've had on my agenda to work for towards the end of this year. One of them being the esports calendar, but another one being the caster workshops. So this is an idea I've kicked around with Jamesbot and the other RLC casters and RLCS casters. And my idea is that we could take the knowledge that the RLCS and the RLC guys that have been around for a while and pass that along to some of these new and upcoming casters. I mean, you look at PRL, those guys have a whole army of casters over there, but they're all new and they're all kind of learning as they go. And instead of them having to, take several months and just like build up to the point that we are now, if we could help further that process and kind of fast track and speed line them all the way to where they're just like confident and ready to go. And then even outside of PRL, there's other groups, Shift PL, they've got a couple casters that are ready to just get into the community and do whatever they can. And there's people every day that I'm seeing. Just had a conversation with a guy last night by the name of Sphere today, and he's looking to get into casting. And it's like these guys, there's girls too. I mean, it's not just guys. There's tons of people that want to get involved and they don't know how. And I've always just kind of given them the same spiel, like, hey, if there's an opportunity for RLC, I'll get you in. I'll recommend you for other groups just to get you in to help wherever we can. But to me, it makes more sense if we can get like a weekly or bi-weekly or even once a month, these up-and-coming new casters, give them a chance to kind of learn from the pros, the pro casters, if you will, and trade insider secrets, get some practice, get some tips, whatever the case may be. To me, that makes sense because that's going to mean that casting as a whole will get better. And if casting as a whole gets better, then tournaments get better because people are going to be more enjoyed watching. So that's something I've been toying around with. I don't know exactly how that'll work out, but I think it'd be really helpful.
I know you're laughing at that last comment with that Kappa, right? $50 an hour caster workshop.
Yeah.
Damn
Easy.
Damn it.
Going great for Johnny boy. Sorry, boys.
And something else along the same lines I've wanted to do, back a couple months ago, I started something called the Scouting Report and ended up getting really busy with the RLCS, so I wasn't able to keep that going. But kind of along the same lines of a Scouting Report, I wanted to see something like a Scouting Combine, which those of you that are familiar with pro sports, you'd know what I'm talking about. This is an opportunity for those that are looking for team, these players that don't have a team to call home. It gives them a chance to kind of show off what they can do. I don't know exactly how that would work out, but to me, if we can find a way to help promote these people that have the skill and just need a little maybe tweaking or need the right team setting or the right system to be a part of, if we can give them a shot to kind of audition and show off what they've got, maybe that'll be something. Maybe that'll help us grow even further. So I take a lot of things from other sports and other esports that have been successful. I look at ESPN. I look at what they do.
And you steal them. You take their ideas.
I take their ideas and I
take their energy and
you take it. You make it work for Rocket League. Why not? Why reinvent the wheel? I mean, others have been successful. Use it to your advantage.
Yep.
Makes sense to me.
That's basically all of the content that I've ever made. It's just stolen.
Like our 2 weeks or the week before LAN when we did LAN predictions. Sorry, Thorin and Monty.
Completely
Dips.
stolen.
Like
everything's it's theft. Just broad daylight.
Yeah. Easy, boys.
That's how we do it over here at TTT.
Yep.
We're just not creative enough. We can't come up with our own content.
Yep.
We're far too not talented and gifted.
Yeah. You made this, I made this. Perfect example, guys. But I guess that's gonna do it for us here on That's the Thing. This is week 9 with CloudFuel. We are very appreciative of you kind of giving us insight of what everything's happened. We ran a little bit late, but it's because there was a lot of stuff going down. Nutters, you're also crazy. Why do you do stuff like that? No one knows, but you're insane. We don't need to talk about that. I'll discuss that later. But yeah, big thanks again to you, Cloud. We're going to go to a live Q&A after we wrap everything up. But this is done for the audio portion of the show. If you guys want to shout out all your social medias, where people can find you, all that kind of stuff, and then I will sign us off.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely check out the RLCS Twitter. Tons of updates going to be coming from there very soon. For me personally, you can check out CloudFuel. I'm on Twitter and Twitch. You could check out my group, Rocket League Central. That's at Rocket LG Central on Twitter and Rocket League Central on Twitch. Be sure to stop by the site, rocket-league.com. And yeah, that's pretty much how you can find us.
Oh yeah, and for me, you can follow me on Twitter at MamaGarrettG. That's definitely my Twitter. It's the only Twitter that I would recommend you follow. It's just to tilt Garrett off the face of the earth. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
That's JohnnyBoy_I on Twitter, the troll himself. But if you guys, obviously this is my channel, if you feel like you want to support TT, there's a couple new ways you can do it. We will be relaunching the t-shirt campaign after the stream. If you like shirts, like I've got a 14 Boost Go one I'm wearing actually right now, made by Press Start on Twitch and Twitter. Make sure you guys go show them some love. 4 in the name of Start. Yeah, we'll be relaunching the campaign for all that kind of stuff. If you guys want to support, all the money for that is actually going to making sure we get an audio guy and video transitions and a bunch of crazy stuff for TTT. Yeah, feel free to like, sub, support, all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you can find all the podcasts will be exported to my YouTube, Lawler RL, on YouTube. Those will eventually be transitioned into a SoundCloud, so people like CloudFuel can listen to them in the car on the way to work or wherever he is going. So that will be the plans for that in the future. Other than that, we're off. Words are hard. That's the thing right there. Me not being able to talk. Terrible. But that's the thing is over. Week 9 coming to a close. Thank you guys all again so much for stopping out. We are going to now jump into a live Q&A.